This is a double flyer wheel. It's the culmination of thousands of years of technological change and adaptation. It basically doubled the productivity of spinners over the single flyer wheel. Now, on this particular wheel, which was made about 1800, there is a single treadle, there is a single wheel, but then there are two flyers. And each flyer is individually adjusted in terms of tension. There is a wooden screw on the top of each flyer assembly, which enables me to raise or lower the flyer and thereby adjust the tension or the rate, the speed at which the thread is drawn onto the bobbins. Now, between the two flyers is a single distaff. And dressing the distaff is critical to success in the double flyer wheel. And what we learned is that the length of the flats is very important to your success. For many, many years, I always thought that longer is better for the flax plant. That the taller the flax plant is, the longer the fibers, the better for spinning. But we learned when doing the double flyer wheel that that's not the case. That shorter flats is actually better because on this type of distaff, which is called a bird cage distaff for obvious reasons, the actual distance of the splines is only about a foot. And if you have the lawn fibers that we were using for the Sleeping Beauty wheel, for example, that may be 3 feet long, what we found is that in the dressing of the distaff, those fibers tend to bunch up below the bottom of the splines and around the top. That creates difficulty when you're spinning because the twisting of the thread tends to run up into that bunch of fibers and twist them into a single large ungainly mass that is simply impractical to use. And you end up cutting it off and losing valuable inches of your flax fiber. So we've learned that the shorter flax, in fact the type of flax that we've been growing the past several years here, accidentally actually at the Hermitage, works very well with this. We've had short flax because the past several summers have been drought-stricken for us. A lack of rain has produced short flax, and I can show you the difference. This is a strick or twist made of the Holland fiber that we get. This is the type of flax fiber that we sell at our website, flaxforsale.com. It is even twisted into a half length as it is now, over 15 inches long. Now let's compare that with our own flats from this past season. You can see the difference. Our own twist is only about, the half length of it is only about 12 inches. So we're talking about a considerable difference here between the 20 to 24 inches of our local flats versus the 32 to 36 inches of the Holland flats. And again, in most situations you want a longer fiber, but in this case, with dressing our distaff, the shorter fiber we found works best. And to demonstrate exactly how to dress the distaff, I'm going to call on Christian.
This is a strick, and what this does is store the flax. I just take it apart. When I make it, I wrap this around here. It's never tied because you couldn't get it apart again. So find the two ends and slowly pull it apart. It's a great way of storing the flax because once you take it apart, it looks exactly like it was when you processed it. Nothing's tangled or ruined. Now take about maybe half of the flax. And the idea is to wrap the flax going this direction around the distaff. So to do that, you have to lay it on your lap. And I have to make sure that the ends are loose. The ends always will trip you up. If they're tangled together, you get big clumps of flax tied together in the distaff. That's pretty good. Now, spread that on my lap here. This is one of the simplest ways of dressing a distaff, but it's very effective. Just lay it out like that. I try not to get too many areas where it's clumped up. I want this to be pretty even. There we go. Then you take your distaff, like so, and I usually start from the middle. I'll pull up some of the flax here, and I usually give it all a good shaking to loosen it. And the tricky thing is to get it started. There we go. You see what's beginning to happen. The flax is actually wrapping itself around in a horizontal fashion here. Try and get it as loosely applied on as possible. There we go. So I come in and you can see what's happening here. Fibers tend to come apart. There we go. And they all go in a horizontal fashion like that. Now you may end up with a little bit at the top. I always get some at the bottom for some reason. Pat it down with your hand, like so. And you're just about ready to spin. If you do get some at the top or the bottom, it won't really hurt anything. What I like to do is take some of this here and loosen it and just lay it there in the bottom. When you're done, it should stay on the distaff without any assistance rather than putting any ribbons or anything. So that's a pretty good job. Then we'll take the old spinning wheel here, put it down like that, and we're ready to spin.